Hey YouTube, welcome to the Off-Grid Mountain Homestead. I'm off the homestead today at a friend's house. I was wanting to show you their water filtration system. I set this system up for them 2016, so about 6 years ago. So these components have been battle tested year after year. So excuse some of the stains and stuff on the pipes. I'm in here with the spiders and the snails. They've been on here making a little bit of mess on stuff, which it's time for the yearly filter change, which is why I'm here today. I've had a lot of questions about water filtration setups and stuff, so I'm going to go over this water filtration system that these folks have here and the components that are in it, and show you a couple of things, well actually 3 things that most people do not include in their well house or on their well plumbing system. The 3 biggest mistakes I see when I work on someone's well. So let me flip a little bit of light on here. There we go, service light. Alright, so let's start with the well itself. 100-foot well. It's beside a pretty large river, so the static water level is about 15 feet below the surface. And got a check valve in it. Plumbing comes into the tank, to the T, and then goes into the filtration system. Now the biggest thing I see on filtration systems that people miss is having a bypass valve in. This is point number 1, stuff I see on wells that are missing that should be included. A bypass. So if the filters clog, if you get a bad sediment load or something, the aquifer gets stirred up from a flood or something, you know, or anything like that happens, if your filters plug, 3 o'clock in the morning, you can't take a shower or use the water, whatever, you can come out here, you can just open this bypass up and the water will come back in and go to the house, bypassing the filters. Mistake number 2 I normally notice in wells is people fail to put a check valve above ground. Now the pump underground has a foot valve on it that holds your water pressure back, but you got the stick of pipe going down to the pump, so all that water weight and pressure is sitting on that foot valve on that pump. So you put a check valve above the surface, any pressure that's in the tank or in your plumbing in the house rests on this check valve instead of going all the way up down the pump and resting on the pump. So that's number 2 item that I see missing on most wells. And item number 3, that's for everybody that's counting, that's number 3 items I see missing on wells is a pressure relief valve. Now very few wells, 95% of wells I've worked on, or well houses I've worked in, don't have a PRV. This is 75 PSI pressure relief valve. So if the switch was to weld the contacts or stick, the well pump's just going to run and run and run and run. So it's either going to A, burn up the pump, or B, it's going to find a weak spot in the indoor plumbing and bust it and make a leak. So if that happens when you're not at home, that could cause a real bad time. So if there's only one part you put on your well system is a PRV, a pressure relief valve, and this one is set at 75 pounds, and it's on a brass T. So you can buy this brass T with all the ports and stuff, with your drains, pressure taps, switch taps and everything all in it. So spend the extra 15 bucks and get a PRV. That could save you thousands if you have a pressure switch stick and the pump continues to run and you lose lose a line somewhere in the house because of the explodes or leaks. So please always put a PRV in your well system. Let's start at the beginning of the filtration. This is a retrofit. This was not all new plumbing. This was add-on. All the components were added in. This was the original filter when they called me out to work on this well. It had a 50 micron strainer in it. So instead of taking all this piping apart, we just took the strainer out, just left it as a kind of a rock catcher. So any kind of big debris will fall out of solution and land in the bottom of this old filter element. So then we come up, remember the bypass, normally run in position with filtration. This valve's open, this one's shut. So if we need to bypass, we can shut these off, open this, and the water will go right back into the house. So if I'm servicing the filters and they need water, I can just shut these valves off, open this one. They can still have water in the house to do whatever they're doing, so I don't disturb their day-to-day stuff when I come out here to check this well or service these filters. So let's continue down the plumbing system. So remember, water's going this way, comes into the first stage filter. This is a 25 micron pleated element. It's a 10x4 filter. It's a Whirlpool cartridge. You can get this stuff from Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, Amazon, you know, your local plumbing supply house, what have you. So I'll put some links in the description, you know, if you want to look some of this stuff up and kind of price it out if you don't have a, you know, good filtration system on your well. So stage number 1, 25 micron pleat. These filters usually go a year between changes. And so moving down the line, water's flowing this way. This is stage number 2. It's a carbon block filter, 5 microns. So this catches all the major junk, all the big sediment and the sand. You can see the sand in there. This is a year's worth of sediment. So 25 to 5, and then out of the 5 micron, it goes up to the UV filter. Now this is a Pure Test 12 gallon per minute UV sterilizer. So these customers or friends wanted a UV light to sanitize their water. So we went with the Pure Test. It does require an annual lamp change. The lamp will last a year. So it's pretty easy to change. You just pull this little cap off right here, and then you slide the lamp out. So you see I pulled the lamp out a little bit there. And it's just got that gasket that holds it in, and there's a quartz tube in here that you can clean if your water's dirty enough to warrant cleaning the tube. But this water's not mineralized here at this house, this location. Their water is just mainly sediment load. You can see there's really no mineralized discoloration. This is really soft water. It's in a limestone aquifer, so good, you know, good clean water, pretty mineral free, pretty soft water. I think the reading on this water is 45 or 50 parts per million of hardness. So good water here. pH was 6.5, I believe. So the Pure Test has a little indicator lamp, shows you everything in there, and it's on a GFCI receptacle in case something shorts out. So anyhow, after it comes out, the UV, it goes and turns, follow the piping, goes down, and then back into the home. You could get by with a single stage. You could just go with a 5 micron carbon or even 25 micron. I mean, this is an overkill system here. So, you know, don't think you don't necessarily need a 2-stage plus UV, but it's just an idea. Because I've had a lot of questions about it in emails since I did the video the other day with Southern Prepper 1. A lot of emails about water filtration setup. So I figured I'd take this opportunity to show everybody, you know, everything that's going on with this customer's / friend's well. And the hose bib is outside. So instead of using it for the filtration and clogging the filters for their garden, watering their garden, we put in a T right here. So it bypasses the filters and just goes out. It went overhead to save room so we could access in here, because it's real, I mean, this is small. This ain't but 3 foot tall in here, 3.5 foot. So the pipe goes up and overhead out to a hose bib, hose spigot outside, a frost-free spigot. So it doesn't, you know, run through the filtration when they're watering and speed up the clogging process of the filters. So there's its own breaker panel. It's got its own sub panel out here in the well house. 30 amp 2-pole for the 240 volt well pump. It's got a 15 amp breaker for the UV water filtration, the Pure Test UV filter, and then another 15 amp breaker for the service light and the bonus light. Let me show you the bonus. Alright, so as soon as you come in the door, got a service light switch, brings your light on and off so you can work inside here if it's dark. And you also might notice this line voltage thermostat right here. So you might be wondering what that's for. Well, it's for that right there, that chicken brooder lamp, 150 watts. So if it gets cold in here, I'm just going to turn it up to simulate a temperature drop. If it gets cold, boom, 150 watts of heat comes in here, warms everything up. So they decided to gave them 2 options putting this in. They could wrap everything in Armaflex insulation, you know, 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch thick on all the fittings, all the plumbing, the canisters and everything, tank. Well, instead of doing that, they decided to go with the line voltage stat on the bulb. And I believe as of, yeah, it's been 6 years, I don't think they've ever noticed this light come on, you know, at nighttime. They've checked it a few times when it's been in the teens, and this well house is insulated good enough that it does not require this heat lamp. It's just a redundancy factor. So let me set it back for them. I like it set on 50. So this well house has never to their knowledge or my knowledge, ever dropped below 50 degrees. And it's just got R13 insulation in the walls, and it's just been covered up with, I think they used dog ear fence boards and just cut the ends off and put their insulation in there. So, you know, that's an idea too for some folks that may not want to have to go through and wrap all that plumbing up in their well house. So just insulate it, and then you can put your brooder lamp in. But just check your brooder lamp, you know, first part of the season, middle of the season, you know, depends on how much yours runs. It may not ever come on at all. Then again, it may run all the time. Alright, and like I said earlier in the video, this Pure Test takes an annual lamp change, the UV lamp. So I'll give you, I'm going ahead and changing the filters today, but the UV lamp's not due yet because it kind of got offset because back in 2020 they couldn't get the lamp and they did get the filters. So it's kind of offset. So I'm trying to let the filters go longer to catch up, but it's like a 4-month difference. So we're working our way back to being able to change the UV lamp and the filters at the same time. So I'll give you a video down the road. I think this UV lamp's due in December or January, something like that. I can't remember the exact date. So whenever I change it, I'll show how easy it is to change. So that's a basic overview of a dual stage, I guess you could call it 3-stage filtration if you include the UV as a form of filtration. It's more of a sterilization method. You know, do your research on your UV stuff to you know, check the reviews, check the scientific standards they're tested by, look for lab reports. And at the time, this one passed you know, all the tests that it needed to pass for water sanitization. So, you know, water disinfection. So just an abundance of caution on this system. So if the pleated and the carbon don't catch it or kill anything in the water, the UV lamp will. And if I didn't mention, that is a 12 gallon a minute rated Pure Test filter. So with their normal usage of, you know, the shower and sinks running and stuff, they don't ever pass maybe 3 or 4 gallons a minute. So this is plenty of capacity to flow whatever they need to flow. So I hope you like the little, you know, rundown of the well system and filtration system. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to drain this down and change these filters. So thank you for watching the Off Grid Mountain Homestead. Stay tuned, like, comment, subscribe.